Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry. Today's video is going to be my summoning session on the Dragalia Summon Showcase featuring Gala Elisanne. Of course, the Mega Man Chaos Protocol event is live now. There's still quite a bit of event left as it lasts until the 15th or 16th, so you still have plenty of time to participate in that event. And in fact, there's content that's being released that's staggered for it, so basically, so far, there's a few stages with boss fights at the end, classic Mega Man style, as well as a harder trial where you fight Mega Man himself. So the event is pretty fun, about in line with my expectations. Nothing too amazing, I would say, but the rewards are fantastic. There is a good amount of fan service. I feel like they did a really solid job with this one, but I want to discuss that in its own video, focused just on Mega Man. So for today, we're going to be primarily summoning. I did do a couple of the free tenfold summons before this. I've done 2 of them. So I'll go ahead and show off what I was able to get from those. I actually got really lucky in the first day's circle. I managed to get 2 dragons. They were Jean and also a Siren, so not the greatest for me personally. I didn't have a need for those. I had both of those max unbound already. But then on the second day, I actually got a 5-star Lance that transformed, and incidentally, it happened to be the one Lance I was actually missing, so I actually picked up Lathna on the second day, so things have been going really good so far. Strategically, I should wait a couple days, do my other free tenfolds, but I've been playing a lot of rounds with Gala Elisanne, and I really want to try pick her up, so right now I just have some time to be able to summon today. It's the day after Thanksgiving. Had a good holiday, so I don't know, I feel good about this. It's been a while since the last Gala, so some of those memories have been suppressed for sure. But let me give you the rundown of what we're looking at today in terms of what would actually be beneficial to us. So I don't have Gala Cerise, as you all know. I don't have Chelsea. She would be a great pickup. I don't have Gala Elisanne. And within Wind, I'm missing Victor as well as Akasha. Within Light, I'm missing Julieta, and within Shadow, I'm missing Yaten. So those are actually the only 5-star adventurers, and for that matter, the only adventurers who I'm really missing right now. So those are some of the weapon types that I'm going to look out for. As far as dragons, there are several I don't have. I actually don't have a Haster yet. I don't have Popstar Siren, and I also don't have Chthonius. So any of those would mean more wyrmite and more sunlight ore from viewing their dragon stories and forming a bond with them. Anything else, it kind of varies, whether I actually need unbinds on it or it's something I already have fully unbound and those extra copies are not as impactful. And unfortunately, right now for 4-star and below, we are just looking at purely Eldswater. So if we have any bare minimum circles or single pulls of 4 stars and below, I'll probably skip over them to try to save as much time as we can. I do think Gala Elisanne is awesome from what I've been playing with her. Let's go ahead and start off with our singles, and I'll get into a little bit more of my impressions now that she's actually live. So of course, we're going to want to do these in batches of 10 to try to increase our pity rate. Just to confirm, right now we need 10 more summons before we get an increased 5-star rate, so let's go ahead and start pushing through these. I know singles are not the most exciting thing, but I do think it's worth it to try to give ourselves a little advantage if we can. In terms of Gala Elisanne, I think one of the big things to point out, I feel like for the most part, when it comes to the axe weapon type, you often think of these bruiser characters who have really good personal DPS. At least that's what comes to mind for me. I think of characters like Ramona, who has a really high skill damage on her first skill. Let's pause on that train of thought, though, since we're getting a 5-star, and see what it's going to be. It's a Lance, so it's a dupe. Alright, it's a dupe Xainfried. Hopefully Xainfried gets his 60 mana nodes pretty soon. That would be pretty helpful for him, since he's been left behind a little bit. But what I was going to say is, axes I feel like are often thought of as being high in terms of personal damage. At least that's the stereotype or association I would have. The thing about Gala Elisanne is that she's fundamentally different from that. Her personal damage, her skill damage, is not really the driving force behind her. She is a buff bot, just like the Lance Elisanne. So I think that you want to try build her and play her with that in mind. So for that reason, Beach Battle is good on her. Halloween Maritimus with the skill haste it provides is also good on her. With those two together, you can shave off the amount of attacks needed for her first skill. And you can actually throw out that first skill, that buff, with exactly 2 5-hit combos from the axe. 2 5-hit combos also gives her 10 hits, which is enough to activate her Divine Revelation. Obviously, you're going to be casting a skill right after that, which also triggers it, so she's really not going to have much downtime on Divine Revelation, if at all. The only thing I can think of is if you really are standing somewhere far away, like during a Grand Ex Muspelheim and you didn't have anything charged to throw out during that attack. And even then, it's not like knockback is a big problem during that particular attack, so it's unlikely that you would really care if your Divine Revelation is up. Most likely you can get your Divine Revelation up right afterward during the sequence of Chaser into Marker, or Flame Chaser into Searing Pillar, as they're actually called, Elisanne Master. So I think the fact that she's a buff bot, she's excellent. Her defense co-ability is also excellent. But one of the limitations or things to consider with her is that at some point you do need someone to funnel all of these buffs into. If you're just running her and regular Elisanne, you're going to be very tanky. You're going to have great survival prospects. You're going to be casting a lot of buffs, but you do want a powerful recipient of those buffs who has good personal DPS. Somebody like a Summer Celiera, for instance, or maybe like a Lily. Units who actually prioritize dealing damage themselves as opposed to buffing the team. That's the one little thing I think that you should think about with her. And I do feel like she's more of a substitute for Elisanne rather than being a proper DPS on her own. But that being said, I don't think her DPS is bad either, because the Axe basic attacks are pretty solid. You could run something like Kung Fu Masters on her to give her a really nice critical rate alongside Beach Battle, but for the High Dragon Trials, what I think most people prefer is to run the Chocolatiers on her, use that to give flame res to the entire team, and allow them to cheat the entry barrier to a greater degree. Run printless, even if they're ranged. You can actually run some pretty powerful builds on characters like Lily with that type of setup, so that's, I think, the way most people prefer to play her is Beach Battle plus Chocolatiers. We finish with a good set of singles, so let's go ahead and start with the tenfolds. I'm hoping that we can mostly work through the vouchers today and not have to go further, but obviously we know what happened with Cerise, so you never know. We're going to get another 5-star. I am always hopeful with Gala because there's just that wildcard factor. You're not really sniping something in particular necessarily. There's always a chance that you could get something really cool. So hopefully this dragon is useful to us. We'll see once it's revealed. I should have a gut check reaction to it, depending on whether it's good or bad. And Apollo, okay. Actually, this one's kind of middle of the road for me because I have one Apollo, one copy. So that first unbinding, it doesn't necessarily do a whole lot for me, but Apollo at 1 unbound in a burn comp, probably going to be pretty good. I would say definitely better than Ifrit, but I'm not sure how it would compare to a 5-star strength dragon, 5-star skill damage dragon. So this was not somebody who had really close to finishing off, but it is still a powerful dragon, and if I am able to get more copies of Apollo, I could consider running it in something like the Mercurial Gauntlet even, because I think the popular team comp for that, for the Windroy, still revolves around burn, even past level 50. So a couple of things have happened in the past few days as far as Dragalia for me. I had some time off this week for the Thanksgiving holiday, and I did try and make an effort to push myself a little further with some of the content that I've been avoiding that is on the harder spectrum in terms of difficulty. So I actually did really just poke a little bit into Mercurial Gauntlet past level 50, so I'll talk about that after we see what this is. Let it be an axe. Come on. Okay. dragon. Garuda is definitely a miss. So I believe this is now my 6th Garuda. I have one fully unbound Garuda, whose main purpose was for meme clears with Eleonora, but I did unbind her naturally. Thankfully, I didn't spend any stones on her or anything like that. But this single copy of an extra Garuda is just not going to do anything for me at all. Pretty much literally 0 for me, so that's a little bit of a miss. I don't think I'm going to sell her. I'm still reluctant to sell these 5-star dragons. You never know in some ways, but I don't know, you kind of do know. But what I was going to say about Mercurial Gauntlet is I was able to start clearing Flame past level 50. So I cleared 51 so far, and then didn't clear 52. I didn't have any tier 2 high dragon weapons. I had some of the tier 1 weapons, but I think with tier 2 I could probably push a little further. I used the team of Summer Julieta, Elisanne, Laranoa, and then my final unit was Lily, I believe. Yeah, I think it was Lily. And I was able to beat that level, so I think it's accessible if you're getting into the first tier of high dragon weapons. And definitely the flame one is easier because the claps that do unavoidable damage, they do less damage. So you're not just getting bodied by those claps, you can actually afford to not heal between a round, and you might still be able to tank with all your characters. So that's what I ended up doing. I used a Nurse Eileen helper as my healer, and then I also used Halloween Maritimus on my Elisanne, and procced Halloween Maritimus' skill as an additional heal. I ended up coming out of the end with almost all my characters at low health, because I was still short 1 heal. But it kind of worked out nicely because I had Dear Diary on my Laranoa, so that was actually proccing pretty often. I believe I got 2 or 3 instances of Resilient Offense off. So ultimately, that team comp had a lot of good elements, even though I wasn't able to transform into Levi immediately and had to use Halloween Maritimus. I was able to get Bog because I had Summer Julieta, and I think that now I would probably be able to substitute in Gala Elisanne if I were able to pick her up. The damage on that one is actually low enough that I've seen people who run things like Gala Cleo, and if you have Gala Elisanne, her flame res that she provides to the team could actually let you sneak in even more adventurers, but with the trade-off that her buff only applies to water units, so it wouldn't be as effective. But I have been investigating it. I do feel like there's something there. There's a little bit of that magic of the Mercurial Gauntlet where at first I disliked it. I feel like it was boring and the levels were too easy. And eventually I started to like it with the optimization and the planning, the teams. Some of the teams did converge for sure. We got to a point where most people who were able to were running like a Natalie lead with maybe some Burning Punisher and Elisanne with Leviathan for Bog. So it did start to get homogenous, but I feel like those purple claps that are unavoidable are a fairly decent and reasonable way to get around that and actually force you to run a mono-element team for the most part. So I have started to push into that a little bit more, and I also started to push a little bit further with the High Dragons. So let's see if we're going to get a 5-star transformation here or not. And if not, I'll go ahead and skip the circle and then we'll talk about the High Dragons. So right now, no, okay, had to pause for a second there. So everything here is a duplicate. We're starting to get things in our goodie box, which is not a great sign. It means that we're close to, or we've exceeded rather, our dragon cap. But let's continue with the tenfolds. Hopefully we get a 5-star. So what I was going to say about the High Dragons was I was able to crack into Master and beat my first Master trial, running with 3 people who had already cleared it before. What 5-star are we getting this time? A wand. I believe that's a duplicate, but let's go ahead and run through it in case there's somebody I'm forgetting. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be a duplicate. The trial that I cleared was... yeah, it's Maribel. So let's skip. The trial that I cleared was Master High Zodiarc's trial, and it felt like a really accessible starting point. So I have to say, it wasn't too bad, and with some of the changes and the abundance of rupees that we can now access, including tons of rupees from High Dragon clears themselves, you can get 250k off High Dragon clears, or a little bit less than that if you're not running Gold Fafnir on your entire team, which is fantastic. That does add up over time. But with the amount of rupees, I actually felt comfortable moving some of my augments over to Gala Elisanne. I decided to go ahead and invest and unbind his weapon, so I had a max unbound tier 1 dragon weapon, and I was working with players, 2 of which had a tier 2 weapon, and 1 of whom had a tier 1 weapon, the Yachio. So all of us were augmented out. It definitely was not a cheap investment, but the other thing is, augments are also becoming more accessible now with the changes that were made to Void Battles as well as the standard High Dragon trials and onward. So in some sense, I feel like it's kind of okay. We're reaching a point where things are getting okay. Even as somebody who was on the fringes of the High Dragon trial, trial community, or the High Dragon trial doers, I don't know what to say, but I was not on the cutting edge, is what I'm trying to say. And there's obviously big communities like the Underground who run these trials very frequently. There's players who are in static groups of 4 that always run with one another. And I really think that's kind of the most efficient way to handle things right now. So I do appreciate the people who are still on Discord willing to answer pings and run with random players, even though their success rate is likely to be a little bit lower than if they're running with players they're familiar with. I hope that things like Gala Elisanne's massive buff to Flame Res continue, because those types of things actually make it so there's fewer instances of lethal damage. I had this experience earlier where I was practicing Master High Brunhilda's trial, and you can actually just tank the meteor by accident, and it's still recoverable, depending on what your Thaniel has equipped. But it's technically still recoverable. You can tank that damage, not die, and the fight can continue. So if you're somebody who was really having a hard time with that, or maybe one of your teammates just makes a mistake, you can actually pick it up, which I kind of appreciate. The more ways that we get defensive buffs or maybe strength debuffs, I feel like that's one way to break these fights open in a manner that they're still challenging but less punishing. Okay, distracted myself with that conversation, so we only need one more single here. We're starting to run out of summoning resources as far as our freebies go, so there might be a point at which we decide to back off, and then I'll wait and see what I get from my free summons, and then we'll use that to evaluate whether we wish to continue or not. But we haven't gotten anything yet that I've really been seeking, so I wouldn't mind continuing here, but this one is just going to be a circle of dupes. Yep. Okay, so last tenfold voucher. I would love to see Gala Elisanne here. Obviously, if there's a 5-star bow and it's a flame bow, I could get behind that as well, but I think I've kind of abandoned hope on any bow not being a dupe, just with how many dupes I got last time of other random bows. We are going to break our pity. We're getting a 5-star, so hopefully it is a good one. It's just one. And what type is it? Oh, why did I even say that about a bow? All right, well, here we are. Here we are again. Yep. It's Nefaria. It's a dupe. All right, let's skip the circle. Let's move on. Nefaria, Laranoa, Luis, Hawk. I've seen them all. I've seen them all at this point. Even Summer Cleo, I'm pretty sure, has broken my pity at some point or another. So we're running low on singles. Obviously, we've run out of tenfold vouchers. Let's keep using these singles until we wouldn't be able to increase our pity rate anymore. So that's 1. This will be 2. Let's see if it transforms. I don't think so, but the doves are rare enough that, yeah. So that's 2. There actually was a data mine of the upcoming banner as well. So I'm not sure how many of you are interested in that type of information, and I don't want to spoil anyone who is not interested. So if you are, you can check out the Game Press website for Dragalia Lost, or I believe the Gamepedia wiki as well. I think that they have an upcoming content section, but I definitely saw this via Game Press. So there's a new 4-star adventurer, a new 5-star, and a new 5-star dragon, who will likely all appear as part of the banner that follows this gala. They look very interesting, without giving much away. One of them looks like a direct power creep of an existing unit. Another one looks like they have a unique niche that's kind of fun. And the dragon seems to follow a cycle of existing dragons. So that's as much information as I really want to give away on that. There's a couple wyrmiprints as well that are going to be releasing alongside those and added to the wyrmprint shop. The wyrmprints right now from the Mega Man event, I didn't realize this at first glance because you get them at 0 unbound and the abilities look a little bit weak. But when you start to unbind these, the abilities are actually very good on some of them. There's one that gives HP 70% equals 13% strength, as well as gauge accelerator. That's really great. The one with Mega Man and Yuden, it gives, I believe, 30% skill damage and 40% 4-strike damage, which is also awesome. It's like an upgrade to the 4-star wyrmprint, Fresh Perspective, so that's good. And there's another one that is basically like Flash of Genius, but I think it provides light res instead of wind res. So that'd be fantastic for somebody like Natalie. Some of the low HP adventurers, also like Veronica, who want to be at a low HP, can't use full HP or HP 70% print, but also they happen to be in an element where Flash of Genius, the wind res, usually doesn't matter for them, but that light res actually might matter depending on the content. All right, we were able to increase our pity rate. So let's start using the wyrmite here. And I think that we'll probably cap ourselves at like 20k. I don't want to go too low on this before I've done my other 2 free tenfolds. There's always a chance that one of those free tenfolds just has Gala Elisanne as well. So in some sense, we could think about this as like Eldwater collection right now, because this could end up being redundant or unnecessary summoning. But maybe we'll get something good, and maybe it will be this 5-star. We haven't gotten too many of the 2 dragons yet, but we haven't gotten... Alright, it's an axe. We haven't gotten a circle with 2 5-stars, but that axe could be the end of our summoning here if it's Gala Elisanne. Alright, we actually got her. We picked her up. Gala Elisanne added to the collection, and it wasn't too bad. We didn't have to get that far into our wyrmite. So we can save this wyrmite now for Dragon Yule, for the holidays, maybe for New Year's if there's another limited banner. I think with some of the dragons that have been coming out, with a lot of dragons from Hinamoto, they might be priming us for another Hinamoto-themed New Year event. That's my theory anyway, but we got our Gala Elisanne. That was not bad at all. I think we just did 1 tenfold or 2 tenfolds with our wyrmite, and then we spent our tickets, obviously. So we'll see in the next couple days if I end up getting another Gala Ellie off the free tenfolds or if I get something else. But I'm definitely going to stop here. I'm not going to try continue on the off chance of getting like a Chelsea or a Gala Cerise or somebody like that. This is what I came in here for. This should make my life a lot easier as an Axe main in Brunhilda's trial, with her just having 100% burn res. Honestly, it just means that you don't have to worry about what the Thaniel is doing and whether they're healing your burn, and you're less of a headache to other players, so that kind of gives me peace of mind. We'll go ahead and power her up, and take a look at the dragon situation right now. So we have a lot of dragons that we need to deal with. So let's go to teams, collection, and I still have some of my dragons for my free summoning that I want to part ways with as well. So let's go ahead and get all of these 3 stars and 4 stars that I can sell. All of these, part ways. Let's bring in these 25 that are here, or as many of them as will fit. I guess there's still a few that didn't fit. Let's part ways with all of these. Some players have gotten to a point where, because there's never any new 4-star dragons, they're actually spinning their Moonlight Stones to unbind extra dragons they pull, and then selling them for Eldwater. So they're converting their Moonlight Stones to Eldwater. I haven't quite reached that point, but we're not really far from it. It's been over a year, and we've gotten 1 new 4-star dragon ever in the history of the game. So not a really great track record as far as that goes. What dragons did I say that I got? I can go ahead and show you those. So let me show you with unbinding. So from my free tenfold so far, I was able to get, well, obviously I got a Garuda right now, but besides that, yeah, I got the second unbinding on this Jeanne d'Arc, and who else did I get? I'm already forgetting. Oh yeah, I got 1 copy of Siren, which is kind of unfortunate because I did dream summon for Siren, and I used 4 stones on Siren. But she has kind of paid off. She has been great in MG, so I guess she's good in that sense, but I really didn't need her. I just wanted her to power up my Summer Julieta. And now that I'll probably be using Gala Elisanne, it doesn't really matter that I have Siren. Siren would not be good on Gala Elisanne. So let's go ahead and upgrade Gala Ellie, and I'm close to having farmed up enough augments. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I think the great thing with the augments is we've gotten more free augments, and now it's at a point where, as you can see, I can kind of have my main in each element, 1 character of each element fully augmented, or at least close to it. I need 10 more augments for Elisanne, but that makes it a lot more convenient for farming these high dragon trials because you don't have to be swapping depending on the day of the week and who you're trying to actually clear with. So now let's go to Mana Circles, and I'm sure I'll eventually pick up those 10 augments, especially since the Mega Man event also drops some augments as part of the farmable component to the event. So I'll check out the story at another time. I've heard it's a pretty good story, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it's all about. And hopefully the fact that we got Gala Elisanne now means that we will eventually get Gala Alex. I know there are a lot of Alex fans, there's a lot of Luca fans who really want their favorite character to get a Gala alternate. I think that probably in January we might get Gala Luca. There's really no reason why. I think it'll come down to the story that releases in December. But my reasoning is just kind of that I think it would be appropriate and kind of fitting that a year after Cerise, we get Gala Luca. That's a really weak justification, I know, but I just think that would be cool, I guess. More than an actual prediction. I just think it would be kind of neat. And I do think Gala Alex would be further down the road probably, as well as Gala Leaf, just because they're even more tertiary characters than Luca is. So we are going all the way with the co-ability here. And thankfully, some of that Eldwater that we just picked up on the banner will facilitate that for us, because I don't have that much. Once I max node this Elisanne, I'm going to be sitting pretty low, maybe like 20k Eldwater left, at least before I was summoning. I guess I did pick up a pretty good amount in my summoning, but we'll see exactly how much I have once we get to some of these co-ability nodes. Yeah, so I should still have a pretty good amount, more than I thought, from just that summoning session, which is great. And lately, Champion's Testaments have not been a big issue for me, thankfully. That was a pretty big bottleneck in the past, to the point that I spent more than I should have on the monthly packs to get Champion's Testaments. But there we go. Elisanne, fully unbound. Alright. We got her. I have Chocolatiers augmented because I used that for my Gala Elisanne. So let's go ahead and pop her into the team here. I'll replace Mega Man. And we'll equip her. Only have the basic tier 1 weapon right now. I don't have the tier 2 weapon because I haven't been able to clear any other High Dragon trials besides High Zodiarc's trial, but we'll get there eventually. So I would most likely outfit her something like this, probably with some augments on Beach Battle, at least for my first clear. And let's go ahead and sort these by might. And in terms of Dragon for her, I think if nobody has Levi on your team, you don't have another source of Bog, and you're playing Master and you want Bog during break. So if you don't have Summer Celia or a Summer Julieta or somebody who's going to Bog at another time, then probably Leviathan's good. Otherwise, I do think the expected damage, expected DPS on Jean is higher technically. And I think that Gala Ellie could benefit the team more by not shape-shifting. So I think that that's probably technically better. I don't remember if Freeze works against Master High Brunhilda, but I feel like it doesn't, or I would have seen a Lily randomly do it before. So I don't think you can just like throw away Jean and get a Freeze. But I do think you can throw away Jean to like tank a marker or something later on. But Leviathan, for consistency and for having a good dragon form and for causing Bog, if you're lacking that in your team comp, probably just as effective. Ultimately, I think that maybe people prefer Levi even just for less variance, but I do think in expected value, Jeanne d'Arc, when not shapeshifted, has like a 4% DPS edge over Leviathan, so not a huge deal. I like seeing the 4k strength there, even though some of y'all probably have like 6k strength at this point, but I still like seeing that 4k strength, so I'm going to equip that to her. Augment up Beach Battle and see if I'm able to take down High Brunhilda's trial. We'll see. That will probably be the next trial I take on, maybe High Mercury as well. High Jupiter is just kind of painful to practice because everything is very lethal, even though I have my Galaclea with the tier 2 weapon ready to take it down. So I'm still not in a huge rush as far as these High Dragon trials go, but I've also just ran out of other projects. I finished my Wind Fafnir, I finished my Shadow Fafnir to the level that I wanted it, and I finished all my dojos. So at this point, it's kind of like High Dragons, or I just sit on my wings and maybe burn them in something like Void Battles. So I'm going to try my best to keep up with it, take them on, and see how I do. But that is going to do it for this video, everyone. Thank you for sticking with me through the summoning session for Gala Elisanne. I feel like we were pretty lucky today, and I'm glad we were able to pick up Gala Elisanne. So I'm still only missing one Gala adventure. Of course, we all know who it is. I don't need to say it, but maybe I will pick her up eventually. If not, I am still very happy with the roster I have and with my new addition. So I hope that you were able to get Gala Elisanne if you were summoning for her, or if not, you were able to pick up something else that excites you or motivates you from this Gala showcase. Let me know what you got in the comments below, and let me know what you think about the upcoming banner if you've taken a look at it. Otherwise, everyone, thank you once again for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.